Hello everyone and welcome to the next intro/guide video for Souls D20. In this video, I'll be running you all through character creation and leveling up process. Give you an idea of the decisions you'll be making and how you come to build out your character. So to start, this is an example of the pre-made sheets that we use for Souls D20. There's a lot of auto calculations and display options on this sheet, all for quality of life. But don't worry about most of that. We're going to be focusing a lot of our attention today on stats over here, skills, equipment, and our choice of abilities. So to give you guys a general idea, stats really are what determine what your character is good at and what their weaknesses are. The actual stat number is in this column here. Right now we haven't chosen anything, so they're all at the average value, which is 10. The next column over is the stat modifier, a number calculated based on your stat, and that modifier is usually what goes into other calculations, like how hard you hit, etc., etc. Give you an idea of each individual stat. Very generally, vitality determines how much HP you're going to end up having. Higher your vitality, the more HP you gain as you level up. Endurance is how much AP you have, so more endurance means doing more things in your turn in combat. Very good. Strength. How well you are able to wield really big heavy weapons and how much damage they do. Dexterity. How well you're able to wield small and skillful weapons, how much damage they do. Attunement determines your FP, so your ability to use skills and spells. Intelligence is how well you are able to use sorceries, how much damage they do, as well as pyromancies and hexes. And faith is your ability to use miracles and how powerful they are, as well as pyromancies and hexes. Now, skills. Each of these skills are determined primarily by your stats. And what skills are is essentially if a GM wants to determine whether or not your character succeeds at accomplishing a specific task, they will have you roll a skill check, which is rolling a d20, taking your skill number from this column and adding it to that d20, and then using that to determine your success. So each individual skill will start with athletics, which is your general athleticism, your ability to climb, hand-to-hand grappling, jumping. Acrobatics, your ability to swiftly avoid certain things, your ability to, say, land on a precarious surface. Perception, your general ability to be aware of the current situation and spot things. Firekeeping, which is your character's ability to create magical resting places and bonfires and maintain them for you and your allies to rest at, to recover their abilities, and HP. It's quite useful. Sanity is mental fortitude. It's your mental strength, your ability to resist mental attacks. Stealth is how sneaky you are. Precision is your skill at crafting, as well as in situations where a particular target might be difficult to hit, say under cover, or if you are purposefully looking to try and hit a small part of a monster, precision skill check might be involved. And finally, diplomacy. The general charisma, how good you are at haggling, determine if somebody is lying, etc. Great. So, with all those things in mind, I have a character that I want to build. And that character is somebody that wields a massive weapon, somebody that can get right up in the front lines and take a lot of damage, so they're also pretty nimble. And I envision that character to be able to dish out a lot with their heavy attacks, really be focused into making devastating heavy attacks. First things first in character creation, in order to accomplish that, we need to figure out what this character's starting background should be. So if we want a lot of HP, we want to wield really heavy weapons, we should be looking at a starting background that has high vitality and high strength. And really, a starting background just kind of gives you your starting equipment and the initial spread of stats that you start with. Everything else is up to you. So, vitality and strength is what we're looking for. The background that is perfect for that, or at least has the highest vitality and strength is the warrior. So with the warrior, we are going to have 14 starting vitality, 12 endurance, 14 strength, 8 dexterity, 8 attunement, 8 intelligence, and 6 faith. Our vitality, endurance, and strength are pretty high, but all the rest of our stats are pretty low. Right off the bat, you can see that gives us pretty good athletics, pretty good sanity, but our firekeeping, our diplomacy is not too good. Neither is our stealth. And as the warrior, we get some starting equipment. We get some basic medium armor, which we call chainmail on the sheets. And we also get an axe. Just a basic axe. But since, you know, I picture this character having really heavy weapon, we'll put that axe in our offhand for the moment. That armor, that medium armor, the chainmail, will give us 1 tier of physical resistance as well. Great. So step 1, we chose our starting background, the warrior. Step 2, we need to choose our lineage. So for this character, I imagine them to be a Gurm. They are short, stocky, strong humans. They live under the ground, in the earth, big subterranean cities. They're great at crafting, trade, and most importantly, they get an innate physical resistance from their stockiness. So let's choose a Gurm for our lineage and apply the bonuses that we get from that choice. So more specifically, a Gurm gets +2 to their precision skill. So in this column here, I will put a 2, which will automatically add it to the calculation for a total of 2 precision. Next up, they get the ability to craft twice as fast as normal, and 1 extra tier of physical resistance. So we will change this 1 here for resistance to 2. Great, our lineage is chosen. Step 3, spending points of fate. You'll notice over here on a new character, we start with 2 points of fate. Fate is gained as you level up, as you progress, and as you adventure. You can earn fate by doing great big heroic acts, but you're also going to gain fate at certain levels regardless of what you accomplish. And first extra point of fate we're going to gain is guaranteed to be by level 5. But right now, a new character start with 2 points of fate. Now in the book, there is a chapter that lists all of the feats of destiny that you can spend fate on. They are abilities that anybody can get, and they are really meant to fill in the cracks of your character build. Really give you certain things that allow your other abilities and choices to kind of take off. So I have some feats of destiny in mind for this character. First one is advanced legwork. Costs 1 point of fate, and what it allows you to do is you have 1 free AP of movement on every round of combat. Now that doesn't sound like too much, but with a character like this, where we're going to be making a lot of heavy attacks, advanced legwork actually allows you to use that 1 free movement before a heavy attack resolves. So instead of initiating a heavy attack, waiting until the start of your next turn, resolving that heavy attack, and choosing a target from around you within your melee range, you now get to move a space and then choose that target. So really the area that you're going to be threatening with that heavy attack is potentially much bigger with advanced legwork, and that plays into the mobility I had in mind for this character. Second feat that I had in mind is mobile. Also costs 1 point of fate. What mobile does is it allows this character to move through difficult terrain without any detriment to their speed. So picture a fight taking place in a big flooded arena. Most creatures moving through that water are going to be slowed down, and they might have to spend 2 AP to move a grid space instead of just 1. With mobile, I can ignore that speed loss and still move 1 AP for 1 grid space. That'll help me in situations like that to really use advanced legwork and get my heavy attacks off. As well, mobile will let this character run and climb along walls without having to make any skill check to determine if they can. And it will give them advantage on their acrobatics skill checks. What that means is, instead of just rolling 1d20 and adding my acrobatics, going to be rolling 2d20 and choosing the highest of the two results. Even though my acrobatics is only a 0 right now, with mobile, I'm going to be getting much higher results with acrobatics. Cool. Those are the 2 feats of destiny I've chosen initially for my character here. Next step is to level up to level 1. So this starting background we chose, and as well every starting background, they're actually the stat distribution at level 0. So now we can start leveling up. In the book, there is a quick leveling guide that tells you what you get if you leveled into an even level or an odd level. I'm going to be using that and following it for now. So we're leveling from 0 to 1, which means we're leveling into an odd level. What we get at level 1 is we get to increase one of our stats by 1. Now, I pictured this character to be strong and wield heavy weapons. Let's get our strength up. So we go from 14 to 15 strength. We're also going to gain 1 weapon proficiency point. So we'll put that point here into, well, let's say, greatswords. Big, heavy greatswords. And then because this is an odd level, and because this level is less than level 20, we also get a second weapon proficiency point, but that second point has to be put in a tree that is less than our highest tree. Right now, since we already put 1 point into Ultra Greatswords, that second point we get has to be put in something else. So you know what? Let's put that 1 point into axes. There we go. We started with an axe. We'll say this character likes the style of axes. It's also going to go down axes. Great. Now, final thing we get in odd level is we get to increase a knowledge skill. So these skills right here are a bit different from the other skills. They are not determined by your stat distribution. They are determined by your character's experience in their adventure and your choice as you level up. So a character that has traveled very far and wide might get extra points assigned to them by the GM for their world and history skill. A character that's fought many strong monsters might get some bonus to their knowledge of monsters. But for now, every odd level, you get to choose one of these skills to increase. This character, let's say, pretty skilled. They know a bit about monsters out in the wild, so we'll put it in monsters. Great. This character is now level 1. We can see that our AP is 9, so our endurance is a bit higher than average. Our FP is 4, so our attunement is actually quite lower than average. And our vitality here is pretty high. And as a result of that, this starting background also starts with a bit higher HP than usual, 27 HP, which these sheets have already put into the HP here. Cool. Now, let's take this character and let's level them up all the way to level 5 really quickly. Now, because this character is going to be starting at level 5, let's say in their adventures, at some point, they manage to get a nice greatsword. So let's put a claymore in their main hand. Great. Now, continuing the level process. We're going to be at level 2. First things first, change that to level 2. These sheets will automatically take my vitality modifier on even levels and add it to my HP. But without this sheet, you can simply add that vitality modifier every time you make an even level. As well, on an even level, you roll a d6, which I got a 6. You add that to your level HP, put that 6 in there, and that will automatically apply that to my HP here, or you can simply add it yourself. So now at level 2, my HP is 35 instead of 27. Next up, even levels, we also gain an increase to our stat. So let's level up our strength again. From 15 to 16. And you can see, as I'm about to level this up, our claymore and hand axe, which both scale with strength, are going to be doing more damage. Now our claymore, instead of dealing 1d10 plus 3, is dealing 1d10 plus 5. And our hand axe, instead of dealing 1d6 plus 3, is dealing 1d6 plus 4. As I continue to increase my strength, they're going to continue to get stronger. Great. Finally, even level, we still gain a weapon proficiency point. Not a second one, but just one. Since I kind of primarily want to go down greatswords, let's put that into greatswords. Fantastic. Now, character level 3. Repeating the process at an odd level, we're going to increase a stat by 1. Let's increase our attunement now. I want to be able to use skills. I don't want my FP to be so low. So let's bring our attunement to 9. We gain 2 weapon proficiency points. 1 that has to be put into a secondary tree. So we'll go 3 in Ultra Greatsword, 2 in Axes. Now, 3 Ultra Greatsword, we will gain our first weapon proficiency. And what that is a very simple one, simply referred to as Athletics Up. What Athletics Up does is it gives you a bonus of +2 athletics. So we will put the 2 here, it will add it to the calculation. Our total athletics is now 6. Getting pretty athletic. Finally, because it is an odd level, we gain a knowledge skill. Let's say this character from traveling around has gained some world and history. Great, that is level 3. Level 4, stat goes up again. Let's make that attunement. Get some more FP. Then we will increase our HP once again. So roll a d6. Got another 6. I'm not kidding, I actually rolled 2 6s. So we'll add that to the level HP for a total of 12. Now our max HP at level 4 is 43. Again, the sheets already added the vitality modifier, but if they did not, you could also add the +2 there. The total right now is 43. Beautiful. We increased the stat. We increased our HP. Let's also get a weapon proficiency point. So greatswords will now be at 4. And that's level 4. Now let's get to level 5. This is our first big level, I would say. Going from level 1 to level 5 is usually pretty quick. Most games. And level 5 is when you really start to make your first big weapon proficiency choice. So let's go to level 5 and apply all the usual things. Let's apply a stat increase. Let's say we want a bit more endurance. Increase that to 13. Once that gets to 14, the modifier will go up and we'll get more AP. So we're making our way there. It's an odd level, so we will also gain a knowledge skill. Let's put that in monsters. And because it is an odd level, we gain 2 weapon proficiency points. So let's put 1 in greatsword, 1 in axes. Secondary 1 must be put in the secondary tree. Now we get the level 3 for axes. Level 3 for axes is also athletics up. A cute little bonus. So another +2 to athletics. Athletics is now +8. This guy is really good at grappling, climbing, etc. Quite nimble. Now, because we got to level 5 in greatswords, we need to make our first weapon proficiency tree choice. We get the choice between push. Push does, it allows us on any weapon attack which costed 4 or more AP, we can choose to push the creature that it hits 1 grid space in a direction that's not towards ourselves. They fail an athletics check with the difficulty determined by our strength. Strength's pretty high, so it's going to be difficult to resist that push. And as we could see from the previous videos, the ability to move enemies along the grid in a way that you want them to move can be really valuable. You can set yourself up, you can set enemies up, and in fact, you can push enemies off of cliffs, you can push them into walls, you could end up dealing extra damage with push in the right circumstances. The other choice we have is the weapon proficiency known as Full Stomp. What Full Stomp does is it allows us to learn the weapon skill Stomp if we have not already learned it. We can actually see here that our Claymore already has the weapon skill Stomp. Here is its description. And what Full Stomp, the weapon proficiency, does as well is a heavy attack made in conjunction with this Stomp skill now deals an extra d10 physical damage, and you deal a bonus of 1d6 true damage to any creature that is knocked prone as a result of the skill. As well, any creature which you directly knock prone must now spend additional AP to stand back up. Let's read over the Stomp weapon skill to get a bit more context. So Stomp costs 3 FP, and you need to spend that 3 FP when you initiate a heavy attack in order to take a low stance, stomp the ground. As a result, every grounded creature within 5 feet of you when you stomp must make an athletics check with difficulty determined by your strength or be knocked prone. As well, until the heavy attack resolves, we gain an additional tier of physical resistance. So if we stomp, our defenses are going to go up. We're going to slow down creatures around us by knocking them to the ground. And if we chose Full Stomp as our level 5 greatsword weapon proficiency, the attack that we make with the heavy, when it resolves, will deal extra damage. And if we knock down any enemies, they're going to be taking true damage, which means they cannot resist that damage. And in addition to that, they're going to be slowed down if they try and get up. So honestly, I think that plays really well into the flavor of the character we want to make here. We're looking for a character that can make devastating heavy attacks. And with full stomp, not only is our heavy attack going to be doing more damage, not only are we going to have more defense while before the heavy attack resolves, but if we can stomp, then we're going to knock creatures down and deal damage to them at the same time, slowing them down. So it'll be harder for them to escape our heavy attacks. Even if the heavy attack doesn't hit them, they might still take some damage that they can't even resist. It really works well. Now, like I said earlier, on your travels, you gain points of fate for doing heroic acts, but you are guaranteed to get points of fate at certain levels, and level 5 is one of them. So we will be gaining a 3rd point of fate, and we are able to spend that point of fate for a 3rd feat of destiny. One that I had in mind for this character is critical rolls. Costs 1 point of fate, and what critical rolls does is anytime you make an attack that rolls maximum damage on any of its damage die, so say we're doing a heavy attack with a claymore, that's 3d10. If we stomped, that's 4d10. If any of those d10s roll a 10, critical rolls allows us to roll 2 more d10s, and if any of those 2 bonus d10s roll maximum, we can continue to add 1 more d10 until they stop rolling maximum. So the dice explode in damage when you are lucky enough to deal maximum damage. It can be a very fun skill. And on characters that are making heavy attacks where they get lots of die, and on this character that gets even more die from their abilities, at least so far, critical rolls can be a lot of fun. Great. So this is our character. This is our build so far at level 5. Now, as this character progresses, as they continue along their adventures, the next thing, eventually they're going to get their axe proficiencies to level 5 and be able to choose a level 5 axe proficiency between a few options. Then they're going to get great swords to level 10 and be able to choose a level 10 option. There are 35 levels in Souls D20, and by the time you get to max level, you will be able to fully level down one tree and almost level all the way down a second tree. So you will really be mixing and matching those skills and synergizing. We've already been able to get some feats of destiny that synergize well with our playstyle. Full Stomp, which allows us to use a weapon skill, which also synergizes with not only our playstyle, but the feats of destiny we chose. And one of the most important things about making a character in Souls D20, we chose great swords and axes to be the weapon proficiency trees that this character goes down. But you do not have to wield the weapon to make use of the abilities of a certain tree, unless it says otherwise. The baseline is, say this character eventually found a massive great hammer, and they decided, you know what, I'm done with this claymore, I'm done with this hand axe, I want to two-hand this massive hammer. All of those abilities that they gained from going down the great sword and axe tree will now apply to that hammer as well. I don't need to use that claymore when Full Stomp gives me that bonus. I can use a great hammer. Whatever level 5 I choose for axes, that will also apply to the hammer that I'm using. So not only can you mix and match abilities down these trees to create your character build, but the equipment that you choose is also dynamic and up to you. And this was maybe a slightly more simple character, but with spellcasters, you get lists of spells that also have their own abilities that you can synergize with what you choose. You can do a spell sword that's a combination of those things to whatever extent you wish. There's really loads of customization here. And you can choose an archetype to build off of and kind of give yourself a bit more guidance to start, but really the sky's the limit. Cool. All right. I hope this was somewhat informative and gave you guys a taste of not only the combat of Souls D20 over the course of these videos, but the character creation process and build making as well. I hope you'll give the system a chance, and I look forward to playing with you all.